Welcome to Miracle Mondays, starting your week off right. I'm Amara Wiley. This is a miracle about time. So I seem to be experiencing a 10-minute time lag. I used to always be 5 minutes early to everything. Now I seem to be 5 minutes late to everything. I've started telling people I'm going to be 5 minutes late because I seem to always be 5 minutes late. It's my new time. I'm not sure why I've started being 5 minutes late. I'm not sure if it's because I've noticed that things never really start on time and it's a waste to get there 5 minutes early, or if there's just part of my slowing down that I've been experiencing over the last couple of years after my dad and my brother died. So I don't really know what that has to do with, but it doesn't matter because what I want to talk about is the idea of time not actually existing. Time is a human construct. We have created time as a way to keep everything from happening all at once, but everything is happening all at once. And that is the place where miracles happen. When you stop thinking about time as sequential and chronological and start thinking about it as happening all at once, because we have way more chance of affecting how things are going if they are not sequential. So, in the realm of miracles, in the realm of magic, we can affect the way things go in the present and the past and the future because they are all simultaneously happening. We don't have to think about it as a time that is already over and done, and it's not a time that is in the future and we don't know what's going to happen. It's true that we don't know what's going to happen necessarily unless we have the gift of prophecy, but the actions that we're taking now will affect how the future unfolds for sure. And we have some idea, if we're conscious of what our actions are now, what the unfolding will happen. So if we continue with the same actions we have been taking all this time, then it is likely that our future will somewhat resemble our present. And what I mean to say by this is if you want your future to look different, you need to make different choices about your time in the present, about how you, um, about what you do at any given moment. Now, we all know that time sometimes flies and sometimes seems to stand still. Those are old adages, right? So what do those really mean? How can time sometimes seem to go faster and sometimes seem to go slower? I think to some degree that has to do with our attention, with our focus, with our choices about how we use our mind. Things go quickly when we're having fun, and that's because our attention is completely on the thing that we are doing. We're immersed in it. We are involved in it. We care about it. We're having fun. We're engaged, and our emotions are positive and high. And when things tend to seem to drag on forever, they are doing this because we're checking our watch, we're not having fun, we're not really engaged, we're bored, we don't feel like doing whatever we're doing. What I want to propose is that if you don't want time to feel that way, then you can find a way to be completely engaged at every moment. Even if it's not something you want to be doing, there are ways to find you can make whatever you're doing into a game. You can make whatever you're doing into something that's a meditation. The old idea of chop wood, carry water. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. So the more focus you put on the daily activities, day-to-day living, the moments that you are able to really connect with the thing you're doing in a spiritual and involved way, the more you don't get dragged down by time. And then to talk a little bit about how we can have some effect on the past. I mean, I've already talked about the future, but the past, there are moments in my time when I'm aware that something I'm doing is borrowing a moment from the past or lending a moment to the past. I started doing this because I had a Mercury in retrograde candle. I made this giant orange candle, not quite that big, but that I blessed to have extra Mercury time. And, so that when the planet Mercury seems to be going backwards in the sky and there's an idea that communication and travel and technology are a little challenged during that time, which we create by believing, right? We create that by believing it. That doesn't make it less real. So what my candle did was, and I didn't know this when I made it at the time, but if I lit it during a Mercury in retrograde to have some period of time that was not something that, I had something really important that had to happen, and I would light it so that I could borrow, I could have a little time that wasn't challenged by communication and technology. What I found is that in the future, there would be some moment that I would realize I was having those Mercury in retrograde challenges, that I had borrowed that time and brought it from the future into the present that is now past. So what I started doing was, if I sometime during my life noticed that there was a time when it didn't matter if I was having challenges with communication or travel or technology, a moment where I was sitting at home cozy reading a book or something like that, I would say, okay, this is the time I am lending to my future, to whenever there's a Mercury in retrograde, and I can use that time when it, this is a time that it doesn't affect me if there's some kind of challenge with technology, because I'm just sitting here doing nothing or, relaxing. So I would kind of lend it forward, pay it forward, lend it forward to that time. So this got me to thinking that if one could do that, if one could lend forward time or borrow back from some other time, something like that, that time is really much more fluid than what we believe. And when we start realizing the fluidity of time, we can create miracles that happen like this. A miracle can happen over a long period of time. We can make changes, we can, plan, we can heal an illness, we can, if it takes you 3 years to heal an illness, it's still a miracle. But if you could heal an illness like that with no time passing, it seems like such a more of a miracle, right? So what is that technology that happens in that period that condenses the point of destruction, point of creation of where the miracle happens into just a moment? And, I think to some degree that is what is going on in our heads. That is what is our thoughts. Our thoughts are very powerful things. Our thoughts create our reality. Thought forms in magic are putting like a creative visualization into a force of will that manifests in the physical world. And the way that works is that there are planes of existence that vibrate faster than our physical plane. And so when you change something in one of the faster vibrations, it trickles down into the physical plane. If you can do that in a way that either puts it a little bit behind so it will trickle down faster, or if you can do it in a way that that is more of an immediate thing, so your thought changes and absolutely changes, and what that could just simply be is the thoughts where I am noticing all the things that I am sick, like, oh, this hurts, that, I got this rash, I feel like this. And you change that thought to a thought of health to thought of wellness, where you remember either a time in the past or a time that in your mind you can visualize the moment of perfect health, and you stick that into the etheric, the faster vibrating plane of existence, then that trickle down can happen within a moment. And I believe this is the way that healers, miraculous healers, have healed over time, that Jesus healed, that other amazing souls could affect the miracle of healing. So I leave you with those very cerebral thoughts, and have a wonderful week and many blessings.